Hi, and welcome to The Sound of Self, the podcast that's all about empowering women in their 30s to make mindful shifts, find their purpose, and step into their power.
This podcast is not just about discussions, it's a movement. We're here to break through the barriers that hold women back from freely expressing themselves. The world needs your unique voice, and we're here to help you find it.
So thank you for joining Jess and Erin on The Sound of Self. Let's unlock the power within and create a life that resonates with the true essence of you.
Hello everyone. Today we are covering a little bit of a hairy topic. This is something that both Jess and I have experienced firsthand in our lives, and we feel that it's an important one to cover because it is something that not many people feel comfortable talking about, and it's very tricky. It's a different experience for everyone. So that topic today is grief and different types of grief, how we have navigated grief, because it's not one size fits all with grief. If you are going through anything right now, we give our hearts to you. We're really compassionately sending you lots of beautiful healing energy. And please just remember there are beautiful services that you can talk to that are free, such as
Lifeline. If you're needing ongoing support, you can go to your GP, you can get a mental health care plan and access a psychologist or mental health social worker or counsellor, somebody that can help you through this process, because it's really important that you do reach out to.
Yeah, and it does work. I have been to therapy for grief, and it's been amazingly helpful just to help me go through that really pointy end when it all happened. So I'll just share my experience first, and then Jess will share hers and how we both navigated grief. Firstly, we both agree on this, is that grief never leaves you. It's always there. It just comes at different intensities. And it's like being in a room with a big balloon and having a hot spot on any part of that room without knowing when that balloon is going to hit the hot spot and pop. And when you first start, the balloon is very large. It's almost not contained by this room. Then it does get smaller, it gets easier to handle, but it doesn't mean that it goes away. So that's the biggest thing. It's not I've grieved for 6 months now, therefore I'm fine. It's like a good friend that becomes part of you, and then I think it's really beautiful as it helps you become emotionally deeper, emotionally diverse. If you feel an emotion very deeply, it means you can feel both ends of that spectrum. So if you feel deep sadness, you can feel deep love and deep joy. So for me, it's more of an expansive emotion that I have navigated through with the passing of my father through his terminal illness of cancer. So when I was going through it, I knew that it was going to happen. He was in palliative care, so it was I wouldn't say nice, but it was more manageable to have the knowing that it was going to happen, so I could prepare myself and work through that grief. But it didn't make it any easier when it did happen. So the ways that I processed my grief was through my creativity, through my songwriting and music. It was one of the most beautiful ways to transmute that energy out of me and to process that myself, to understand how I was feeling through my own spirituality, through my songwriting. My way of connecting to myself is connecting to my spirit through music, and it's like having a constant friend. It never goes away. You can always use music to really experience something without harming yourself or staying in that loop. For me, it helps get it out and then transmutes it into something beautiful, which is the same with art, painting, singing, writing. So Jess.
Yeah, thank you for, I know your story, but I think it's really beautiful sharing that with others as well. And it can be part of our, it's an addition to how we make meaning of our experiences. And often trauma can be attached to grief. And there's something called post-traumatic growth, where it is about finding meaning in our experiences and using that in order to grow. There's lots of things that I'd love to talk about grief. We're going to keep this relatively short. I will mention that grief comes in many forms, as Erin mentioned, and it can be for a multitude of reasons. So a breakup can lead to grief because it comes with loss. Anytime there's a loss, there's grief. You mentioned about terminal illness and how you were able to kind of grieve that ahead of time. And that grief is called anticipatory grief. It's where you're anticipating the grief of losing a loved one. And that can complicate things for some people because that person's not quite missing yet and you're trying to navigate all of this stuff and be positive and those kinds of things. So that can be really, really hard in and of itself. There can be ambiguous grief if somebody goes missing and we don't know whether they've lost or not. Something that I should have mentioned at the beginning of this episode is that there will be mention of suicide, so please stop listening if that's a trigger for you. I'm not going to go into detail at all, but you do need to know that. So my experience of grief, unfortunately, I lost my brother this year, and it was due to him taking his own life. And that in itself becomes a complicated form of grief by default. And I was extremely close with my brother and growing up, and so it was devastating to me and still affects me. It's only been a few months, and how I've been processing that from day dot is through my writing. I've always journaled. Every time I've gone through a difficult time in my life, I've journaled to see things from a different perspective. It gets us, in terms of our brain and how we think, it actually gets us tapping into a different part of the brain that can see things differently. So while we're experiencing really strong emotions, we're in that emotional part of the brain, the limbic system. But when we're tapping into, whether it's talking to somebody or writing, we have to tap into our language and our higher order thinking. And Einstein says you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So anytime we are experiencing a difficulty, writing about it or talking about it actually does work. Not that grief is a problem to be solved necessarily, but it is something that, as I mentioned before, we can start to find meaning in and grow from. And my spirituality, which I've embraced a lot more after this, has truly, truly helped as well. It's helping me with that meaning making and being able to grow and avoid self-destruction. That's the other way that we can go. Drinking lots or using drugs or isolating. Have you seen that happen before, Erin?
Yes, I have, unfortunately, to people around me who have unfortunately not known how to deal with the grief, so they avoid it and they can... I feel when people avoid grief, it just prolongs those feelings, because the more you push it down, the more they're going to resurface and rear their ugly head unexpectedly when you don't want it. So it's better to take bite-sized chunks of it and to actively work through it in a way that you get to choose, with a therapist or through a creative practice or journaling or exercise. There's so many amazing things that you can do for that. Yeah. And I've seen it destroy people, and it's been really hard. And that, again, is another form of grief. I feel like watching someone else, it's like empathetic grief, right? Compassionate grief for someone else and grieving for them as well.
Because they lose themselves, and then you see them lose themselves. It's a complete disconnection from self.
Yeah. So all of those experiences that take you out of your body when you are processing grief, I think you'd probably have a really good opinion on this, Jess, but I feel like they're not always helpful.
Yeah, avoidance is, and that's what we're doing. We're avoiding the feeling when we're doing that. And avoidance is not always a bad thing if it's, in moderation and, just for a very short time. But if we're heavily relying on avoidance, just like you said, it kind of, I think you're implying that it kind of snowballs, or you can get stuck. And it's like trying to push a big beach ball underwater. It's not going to stay down for long. It's going to pop up randomly. And when you have so much less control, so you're actually amplifying. Anytime we're avoiding emotions, whatever they are, we're actually feeding more energy into it. It's that whole what we resist persists.
Yeah.
And because we're feeding more energy into it, it amplifies. So we're actually amplifying our own suffering by trying to avoid with all these things, because none of the strategies that we will continue to use to avoid, even if it's delving into our work and trying to distract ourselves like that, or numbing with TV or whatever it is, it's always going to amplify our pain.
I just want to add to that. I feel avoiding is not always a bad thing. Sometimes you do have to avoid things for your own safety, or it's okay for a short period of time. If you've got to, for example, still function in everyday life, which is what I had to do. I still had to go to work. I still had to run my business. I still had to show up. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to eat that week, right? So I think it's okay, but as long as you are actively putting aside the time to do it, giving yourself space to process that and to go through it, which is what I did. And then it became this really beautiful part of me that I love that part of me now, because it's made me really compassionate and understanding of other people who are going through that. And it's made me be able to be a better service-orientated business for my clients who are going through these processes that we are working through with their expression and their emotions with voice activation work, right?
Oh, I think that's so beautiful. And I reflect on my own journey with that as well. Like, I've undergone training in grief, not extensively, but prior to all this, I did a lot of training in suicide prevention, which kind of made things worse when this happened to my own family, because there's all this blame that naturally comes with those things. When this all happened, because I have to I work with people who disclose suicidal and self-harming thoughts all the time, I thought, that's it, I'm throwing in the towel. I am looking at jobs at Audi's that just opened up around the corner. I am just going to, I can't do this anymore. How on earth will I cancel?
That would make perfect sense when you're feeling that intensity. So many different emotions there. You're feeling judgment, you're feeling failure, you're feeling grief, you're feeling loss. Just so many different colors there.
Oh yeah, 100%. All of that. And that's another way that we can self-destruct, is like opting out. We just quit everything and make big decisions in those big emotions. And I could have quit my job. Thank God I didn't, because I'm a way better counselor now. Hopefully helping other people, through this. Yeah. So, don't give up.
That's the same with me. I've wanted to give up, music, what I'm doing, so many times, because I've been through that process of grief, and it's been so hard to get out of bed some mornings and so hard to face the day. But I know that that's just a temporary state. I know I'm not going to feel it forever. And that's another thing to mention. If you are feeling this deep, intensive feeling, it literally can't stay that way. If you feel it, if you express it, if you let your body feel it in a safe way, it will move. It will move through you. It will move on.
Yes. I had told so many people around, kind of along those lines prior to this happening to me. And then when I was in it, I did not believe for 1 second. Anytime anyone was like, it's not always going to be this way, I did not believe them. And I was so kind of angry that they would even suggest it. I'm telling you, if you allow yourself to feel it, then you are just going to keep getting stronger and stronger, and it will shift. It will change.
Absolutely.
It's not going to go away, but it will shift, and you'll take the reins back over your life.
Exactly. And I just want to say, whoever is listening right now, you are so strong. You are stronger than you think. You're braver than you think. and it will change. As cliche as that sounds, time does help. It really does.
Yes. Yeah. And get support. If you need it, get support. Please do. I've met so many people that are so reluctant, and if you don't find the right person, then try for the next one. Don't give up. Not every personality's click, and this is a really personal thing, and it's your right to find the right person for you. But please don't give up on trying to get support, because you deserve it.
You definitely do. So, in a takeaway today, this is going to be something we will unpack more. We will do more episodes on grief, but we would love to hear if you have any specific questions that you'd like us to ask around grief, or if you would be comfortable sharing your story for us to help process that with you over another episode to help you move forward through this really difficult emotion.
Yeah, please do.